Welcome to a place for those in search of truth and conviction, a place where we discuss culture, politics, philosophy, and everything in between. I'm Luke, and I'm here with Russ. This is Hardly Strictly Politics.
Hell yes, dear listener, the HSP boys are back in the saddle once again for episode number 34. Thank you so much for jumping in the saddle with us. It's flooding down in Texas right now, dear listeners, so if you hear some thunder coming through this microphone, that's what's up. Hopefully no tornado today. Fingers crossed. We got to be careful on this trail today. 2 separate continents, 2 separate countries, 2 separate hangovers. Another Friday night, dear listener, another HSP burn down, let me tell you what. 2 separate adult beverages just to make it fair, and quite frankly, to recover so we can make it through this trail today. 2 separate cups of coffee fee, 2 separate pills, 1 white and 1 black, 2 separate fact shamings, 2 separate sore-ass persons in accordance with the HSP Lifestyle Challenge, 2 separate trails to the same inevitable conclusion. The trail grows longer each week, dear listener. We got 34 miles to ride today before sundown, so let's not tarry. Let's saddle up and ride into episode number 34, which is in the house presently. Find us on Facebook at Zero Gravity Med. Same thing on Twitter at Zero Gravity Med. And you can always find us right here in our own house. Send us email at feedback@zero-gravity-media.com. That's feedback at zero-gravity-media.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and TuneIn, all 3 under Zero Gravity Media. Find us on YouTube. Look for Zero Gravity Media and our Zero G logo. 2 weeks of no short snippets, but they are coming, dear listener. Luke and I have been incredibly busy, so our apologies. We'll jump back on that ASAP. Lots of great feedback on our website redesign. Luke did the business last week and really improved our look and functionality. Great work, Luke, and the dear listeners really do appreciate it, so thank you so much for myself as well. That's zero-gravity-media.com. Right on by and leave us some feedback using the contact form. That's zero-gravity-media.com/contact. As always, dear listener, send us any articles you may wish to write. We'd be most honored and delighted to host you on our website. So who we got this week? Who's on the trail with us this week? Well, we got Shreveport, Nolens, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Lake Charles, and Lafayette on the trail. OKC, Tulsa, Ardmore, and Norman, Oklahoma on the trail. Mesa, Arizona, each and every single week on the trail. Phoenix, Tucson, and Sedona. Dear listener, we are blowing it up in California. Now, this is something the HSP boys never expected. Now, Luke and I both lived in California for a long time, so we've got some friends out there, but that does not explain San Francisco, bigly each and every single week. San Jose, bigly each and every single week. Livermore, Redding, Chico, Sacramento, Brentwood, Santa Rosa, Bellflower, LA each and every single week. So thank you so much, California. We love y'all. We got Seattle on the trail each and every single week. We got Vancouver, BC on the trail. We got Portland, Salem, Eugene, West Linn, Oregon on the trail. We got Salt Lake City and Roosevelt, Utah on the trail. We got Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota on the trail. We got St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and Columbia, Missouri on the trail. Memphis, Nashville, and Tazewell, Tennessee on the trail. We got Miami, West Palm Beach, Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, and Leesburg, Florida on the trail. We got Macon, Marietta, Atlanta, Savannah, and Augusta, Georgia on the trail. Charleston, South Carolina on the trail. Charlotte, Asheville, Raleigh, and Wilmington, North Carolina on the trail. Each and every single week, we got Ashburn, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia Beach, and West Point on the trail. Thank you so much, Virginia, especially Ashburn. DC, bigly on the trail each and every single week. New York City, bigly on the trail each and every single week. Port Chester, New York on the trail. Boston, bigly on the trail each and every single week. Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts on the trail. Now, I forgot something, Luke. I forgot somebody. Who might that be? Oh, snap. That's right. It's Texas. How could I possibly forget? Just kidding. Texas. I was saving the best for last. That's all. Now, Texas. Oh, Texas. We told you last week that California was nipping at our heels, and that's true. And you saddled up and you responded in kind, and the HSP boys, thank you so kindly. Deep in the heart of Texas, let me fly through just a few. We got College Station, Bigly. Bryan, Bigly. Spring, Texas. The Woodlands, Bigly. Conroe, Navasota. Houston, Bigly. Galveston. San Antonio, Bigly. Fredericksburg, El Paso, Brownsville, Eagle Pass, McAllen, Amarillo, Lubbock. Oh, wait, hold on. My bad. I mean Lubbock. Lubbock, Texas. Sorry about that, Lubbock. Just trying to have some fun. Dallas, Bigly in the house. Arlington, Bigly. Rowlett Bigley, Waco, Waxahachie West, and Mahia Bigley, Richland, Rockwall, Greenville, Royce City. Hell with it. I'm just going to leave it right there, dear listeners. Suffice it to say that all of Texas is on the trail with us right now, and you are in fantastic company with a whole bunch of Texans. Thank you so much for stepping up, Texas, and that is why Luke and I are so proud to call you our home state. Now, before we leave Texas, there is one last shout out. You ready for this, Luke? You ready?
Yeah,
wait for it.
Let's hear it.
Wait for it. Together, we have finally colonized Austin this week, Luke.
Oh man, we're turning Austin red. That's what's
turning Austin red. We're going to flip it bigly. Howdy,
Yeah.
Austin. Welcome to the trail. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got some exciting developments coming very soon out of Tunbridge Wells in the UK, dear listeners, so watch this space. Tunbridge Wells on the trail each and every single week. London on the trail each and every single week. Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, York, Newcastle upon Tyne, Glasgow, Belfast. Colluding with Moscow on the trail each and every single week. Warsaw, Kyiv, Minsk, Budapest on the trail. Each and every single week, we got Hong Kong on the trail. Bangkok, Bigly. Good morning, Vietnam. We got Da Nang, Bigly, and Ho Chi Minh City. India, our apologies. We tried to find out which town it was, but we couldn't figure it out. So leave us some feedback. Let us know where you're at, and welcome to the trail. Each and every single week, Bigly. We got Melbourne and Sydney in the house. Good day, mates. Now, before we ride, one more shout out to California, to Redding and Bakersfield specifically. Today on this trail is April the 6th. Luke and I are recording on April the 6th. This is the birthday of one legend by the name of one Merle Haggard. It was also coincidentally the day he passed away 3 years ago in 2016 on his 79th birthday. He was one of the all-time greats, and the world has never been the same since he left us. Be proud and reverent today, California, and thank you so much, Merle Haggard. Godspeed. All right, Luke, let's do our thing. Let's go ahead and ride this trail. What we got on the trail map this week?
Well, we have it's going to be a pretty short show, I think. Yet another slow news week, a little bit black pilling, a little bit white pilling. One could call it gray pilling. But we've got reparations. We're going to hit the leftist push for reparations. This is when you get over the sticker shock of reparations, you realize that it's actually quite white pilling. But
yeah,
not for the reasons which you probably imagine. We're also going to hit up AOC's latest gem. God, Russ, isn't she really is just the gift that keeps on giving.
She is, man. She is. We told you, dear listener, we're going to be talking about AOC each and every single week just because of AOC herself. It's not the HSP boys. We're not like the TMZ of AOC up in here.
She just delivers. Yeah, she just delivers. She's very charitable with her gaffes.
Yeah, she is.
And for that, we are appreciative.
Indeed, sir.
After that, we're going to jump to an audio break. What's our audio break, Russ?
We got Steve Bannon in the house. First audio break.
All right. Then we're going to discuss the official split of the left. It is very much apparent at this point. This week, it became official. The left is splitting. The Dem Socs are going one direction. The neo right are going another direction. The blob left. By the way, Russ, actually, let me finish this, and then I'm going to jump back to something.
Sure, man.
Because it relates to the last show, episode number 33. So after we do that, we're going to talk about Biden, Pete Buttigeig. Finally figured out how to pronounce his name. We mispronounced it last week. I don't know, dude. I think I have I'm name challenged. I think every person's name I just mispronounce and then
Ocasio-Cortez,
Ocasio. Yeah, no, I think last week I called it like Buttigeig, but that's because I was thinking about it in German. That's why. Because like if you see that name in German, you would say Buttigeig.
Very good.
But it's not a German name. It's a Maltese name.
That's correct.
So then we will, and what's our second audio break, Russ? We got another one.
We got Tucker Carlson in the house, that bit about immigration. Yeah. I played a little bit of it on Botchstad number 4 this past Thursday, but we're going to play the whole drop right here because it's pretty infuriating. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll hit that. And then we've got lifestyle challenge, and I think that's it. We didn't find anything on Grab Bag Special. Dear listener, for Grab Bag Special now, we are not going to just like search for something and then hit it. We're only going to do Grab Bag Special when there's something really juicy out there. So Grab Bag Special here moving forward will be a on-demand sort of thing. If there's something good,
Special segment.
Yeah, we're gonna do all the Democratic primaries. Maybe not even grab bag special. I don't know how we're gonna do that yet, Russ. But I don't know if we do the whole thing or what. But grab bag special here moving forward is just going to be when there's something good, we'll do it. Otherwise, we're not going to do it. We've had some misses in the past several shows, and we're just not gonna do it unless we know for sure it's gonna be good. So yeah, dude, I was gonna say I was listening to, I won't name the show, but I was listening to somebody this week and they straight up just called the sort of neo left, neo right. They called them the Blob.
Are you kidding me?
I swear to God, dude. I almost sent it to you. I was like, there's no, like, this is not a coincidence at this point.
No, it's not.
And it was somebody big. It was like somebody on par with like Hannity.
What?
Yeah, swear to God, dude.
I believe you, man. I mean, first of all, hashtag winning. Thank you so much, whoever said that. But like, all right, let me just say, first and foremost, where did you hear it first, dear listener? You heard it in these hallowed halls of HSP, first and foremost, uniquely. Well, it used to be uniquely, not anymore. And we're happy. We're happy to we're happy to continue.
Seriously, steal our memes. Just show some love.
Right. That's it, man.
Show some love to the HSP boys. Look,
like we said,
like we said last week, our memes are fair use memes. So feel free to steal them. Show some love. Show some love.
Yeah. But that's white pilling, man. And you didn't even tell me that last night on Friday night, man. And man, that's good. It's good.
Indeed.
So, actually, that call last night was pretty short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty short. So so it goes, man.
Speaking of which, dude, what's your adult beverage for this show, Russ?
I got some fine single malt Scotch whiskey, and I've got a Shiner Bock up in the house right now. How about you? What you got?
I got a glass of wine, of course, my giant pitcher of water, which I always have here, and then I've decided, man, I want to become kind of a rum connoisseur. I don't know. I love the story behind rum with like pirates and Caribbean and everything. So, anyways, I went into town today and had a nice $7 rum and just kind of tasted it. I don't know what else you do, but I mean, I've got a nice Captain Grand Ester Übersee. I don't know what Ester means, but Übersee obviously means oversea. Just having a nice little rum, and it's going to be a good show. This is kind of similar format to last week, dear listener. We're going to keep it casual, keep it, it was again kind of a slow news week, and we're going to just kind of have fun again. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah. And I might have some bots that we have to hit. I don't necessarily have to do it. There is some stuff going on in the background. I don't really want to talk much about them. I'm going to hit them and quit them. But like maybe we'll roll through some bots if time allows. And Luke, I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback about the format of the show last week for number 33.
Yeah, right? Me too. Yeah, I had people hitting me up and they were just like, dude, that was the best show. And on one hand, it's a little bit heartbreaking because we put so much work into all the shows prior that it's like the one show that we do literally nothing for and we just hit the record button. They're like, oh, that's your best show. It's like, oh my God. Like, what are we doing?
Well, we've been in training, man. We've had training wheels on for the past 32 episodes until number 33. We had to kind of learn how to do it. It's not intuitive. You have to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And so I think a structure kind of was our crutch, to be honest. And I do think that going forward, I know that dearest listener really likes it when we're very structured and like really bring it in terms of structured content. Luke and I do know that there are going to be times where we have to bring the structure and talk about things like really didactically, point by point.
Totally.
Like we did with the Justice League Democrats. That one had to be meticulous. That was not hit record and get through it. It was a different type of thing, and we know that this will be coming up.
Yeah,
over
totally.
and over.
Yeah, totally. Especially like when the Democratic primaries come around. I mean, there is a time when discipline is appropriate, but I don't know. It seems kind of like right now, it's kind of the calm before the storm. We got, we're in a. Oh gosh, what is it, Russ? When a sailboat gets caught in without wind?
Dang.
Oh, it's be something. Be
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I can't either, man. Sorry. That's a fail.
Yeah, I can't
We even
remember.
used to watch La Vaga, and they talked about it on La Vaga, man. And
Yeah, man. I just can't remember for the life of me right now.
I can't remember.
Becalmed. Yeah. That's the word.
Becalmed. Yes, of course. Becalmed.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
That's so
when
easy.
a sail. So we are becalmed right now. In fact, it was a huge problem like back when. If you've ever seen, dear listener, if you've never seen the movie Master and Commander, you need to watch that. It is one of the most
fantastic.
It's such a good movie. But yeah, it was a huge problem back in Christopher Columbus days, 1400s, 1500s, back when, before we had, back when sailing was the thing and before we had fossil fuel powered boats. It was a huge problem because you'd have this boat full of sailors and they would become becalmed out in sea. And I mean, when you got to use the bathroom, you just kind of stick your ass out off the side of the boat and just go. I mean, they had like bathroom sort of things, but that's what it was. And then what would happen is the whole boat would be just surrounded in human waste. And it was like a huge problem because you couldn't catch fish or anything like that.
Right.
So we're not there yet, but we are on week 2 of being becalmed. We're not surrounded in. Well, I don't know, man. AOC, she's doing a pretty good job of covering our filling the water with human waste, so to speak.
True. And if I may say, I talked about this in Botched Ad number 4. The president himself also didn't really do us any favors this week to get the fire stoked and get the motor running. And we're not going to belabor that point again this week. I asked Luke specifically if he wanted to talk about it. And he's like, no, there's nothing to say about that. That's just a cuck. That's not the president. The president is not a cuck. It was a cuck move. That's what I mean.
Yeah, the action.
And again,
it was a cuck
action. Cuck action. Yeah. And again, listen, we love the president. Luke and I have been ride or die with this president since the very beginning, right? But we are going to criticize him when necessary because we want him to step his game up. And we do know that the president listens to the show. So there is that.
Yeah.
We do happen to know. So, yeah.
Yeah, we should probably have you do just a quick fact bit about that at some point, but during the show.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, we'll do it before audio break 2, because that was immediately in advance. No, I'm sorry. It was just after the decision was made. So we'll get to it right before audio break 2. How about that, man? Yeah,
that sounds good.
And also, to be fair, Luke and I did consider putting in the audio break where the president announced the decision that he was, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we considered doing that. But the audio quality is kind of so-so. It's a press conference. And so we're going with Tucker instead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, let's jump into it, dude. Let's do it. Almost 20 minutes in. So reparations, man.
20 minutes down, man.
Yeah, dude. It's funny to think that like this is some people's like entire podcast. They're like, yeah, we do a 20-minute podcast. Like,
yeah. There's a gal I listen to every single. Well, I haven't listened to her for a minute because I haven't had time. But that's what she does, 20 minutes. And that's her thing. So
that'd be so nice.
Yeah, man.
Although I love doing this. Don't get me wrong.
I do too, man. I know it.
Yeah, but thank you for the feedback on the new format. Really quick. Like we're gonna jump in here now. But thank you for the feedback on the new format. We really do appreciate it. We are going to try to take a more easygoing approach, as opposed. I described it to one listener that our approach up until episode 33 was the difference between. And we actually, for those very astute dear listeners who have listened to Friday Night Comfy Post, we've talked about this, that the shows leading up to episode 33 were the difference between bebop jazz and modal jazz. Bebop being the very difficult, rigorous, disciplined, one thing to the next style of show. And 33 was, we're stripping all of that away and you can sail in any direction you want. You can go any direction you want. So, and I think it's appropriate to do both when needed. And I think this is another week where we're going to kind of just have this more modal jazz type of show where we just going to go where the wind takes us. Although we do have some topics cobbled together. So let's jump into it. Russ, what do you say?
All right. Yes, sir. Let's do it. Tunbridge Wells, what Luke just said is for you right there. Tunbridge Wells in the house. That's for you. All right. Let's do it, man.
All right, man. So reparations, none.
Yeah.
What do you got about this, man?
Well, it's the new darling topic of the left. They what does NON stand for again, Luke? I've got it here in my show prep, man.
The National
Action Network. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. So this is the pet project of one Al Sharpton, one of the most racist sons of bitches I've ever seen in my entire life. An absolute. I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm not going to say anything else. Well, this is his kind of conference that he holds every year, right? And it's very racist and it's very designed and intentionally so, right? Well, he had presidential candidates on the Democrat Party come and discuss their ideas about reparations, and one after another, every single one of them folded to the reparations agenda. That's the basic gestalt right there, is that we don't really have a Democrat candidate not pushing reparations right now. They all are. And they all came and declared their loyalty to Al Sharpton in order to try to purchase the black vote, if I may be perfectly honest. They realized that the African-American vote is departing them, and it's coming over here to where we're at, right? African-Americans are becoming Trump trained because they got jobs and they're winning, and they love Trump in the first place, right? And so, like, we don't have metrics for how this slide is going, but everybody knows it. It's the unspoken topic, right? So in order to try to get this vote back to the left, now they're throwing out this idea of reparations. And what reparations means is this. I mean, as if you don't know, but let's just be very clear what we're talking about. We're talking about paying African Americans money because of our guilt as a nation, our innate, intrinsic, inherent, original sin of slavery. That's what this is about, right? So what's really interesting is that, man, just when you think the left won't get more left, right? You think that Green New Death is as far left as it can get. Well, now they double down, man, and they go with this reparations agenda. And so that's what's up with it right now. That's where we're at. So we are talking about literally the party of reparations. And I've not heard anybody call out the Democrats this week, except for one independent candidate by the name of Howard Schultz. He called it out and he was like, yeah, you know what? This is the wrong way to go, right? Because nobody right now was a slave, right? Nobody right now owns slaves. And in fact, dear listener, let me tell you, this is an honest story. My grandfather was a slave, and I'm not even lying. He was a sharecropper. He was sold into sharecropping straight up as a child and worked that sharecrop job until he was 24 years old, right? He worked on a farm. That's why he became an agronomist, and a very great one, if I may say. And so, anyways, there is really not a way to define this slave, not slave dichotomy, okay? Because there were quite literally African Americans back in the day who owned African slaves. The fact of the matter is this: the Africans were enslaved by their own people in Africa. Everybody talks about the slave ships that the United States is so guilty for, the chains and the songs and all this kind of stuff on the slave ships. Yeah, those slave ships came from Africa to the United States. Now listen, Luke and I hate slavery. It's awful. It is the greatest mistake the United States has ever made. Upon this, we can all agree, right? But are any of us guilty for it? Is our nation guilty for it? No, we're not. And I'll tell you something, I'll be damned if I'm going to pay reparations right there. This is another kind of breaking point issue, right? I almost wonder, Luke, if the left is trying to break this country apart in the name of all kinds of things, Green New Death, reparations, everything else. I wonder if they're trying to intentionally blow up the United States because, man, this is crazy. Reparations is straight up crazy. What you got about it, man?
Dude.
Triggering, man, I know.
Yeah. I mean, my take on it is that when you think about something like racism, what it really is the attribution of character judgment based upon one's genetic lineage, not based upon their actions or anything they've done, but based upon their genetic lineage. It's a primitive way of understanding human beings and their character judgment, projecting a character judgment on them. And when we talk about reparations, this is a primitive understanding of slavery. If what reparations means, obviously the root word is repair. So if you were going to repair this in terms of like what the concept of reparations is, it would be taking all of the people who would be receiving reparations, giving them a check and a flight back to Africa. That's what really this would mean. And obviously, I'm sure they wouldn't want that. I don't necessarily want that either. But this is just a way to capitulate to unearned guilt. It's a way to purchase votes. It's a way to cash in on unearned guilt, which has been cast upon people who have done nothing wrong. And that is because, and we here on the right, the capitalists, I should say, we have done nothing wrong. And when we say we mean us as individuals. I have done nothing wrong. I've never owned a slave. Neither has Russ. Neither have you. We have never done anything. And you can only assert character judgment or guilt is really what we're getting at. When you say character judgment, really what you are referring to is guilt. Have you done something right or wrong? You can only assert that somebody has done something right or wrong when you're talking about somebody, an individual. We know this because that is what our courts are based on. Our system of law is based on. That is what justice is. Justice necessarily only applies to an individual human being. And when you project guilt onto somebody for something that they haven't done, that is an act of injustice. This is
indeed, sir.
Reparations are an injustice because you are projecting guilt upon somebody for something which they have not done. That is the definition of injustice. And that is what reparations are.
Yeah, it's really blackpilling stuff. And like what I find most blackpilling about all of it is that it is based in the belief that the United States is a sinful, originally sinful, guilty country. And because of that, it shouldn't exist, right? Even though we've done more than, we've got all these illegals trying to get in here, right, for jobs and to be individuals, right? Luke and I had a long discussion about this before we hit the red button today. And, you know, we have done more for the individual as a country than any other country ever in the history of the world. We are God's country, right? Because God, listen, here's what it is. Like Luke and I, you know, we go back and forth about this, but like, here's how it is. You come into this world individually. You leave this world individually. You don't leave as a collective. The first thing you see and the last thing you see in this world are going to be your individual perception. And that is what the United States is here to protect. How can a nation so virtuous be so guilty, be so originally sinful? And I'm tired of these people trying to castigate us as some kind of evil empire, because we're not, man. I mean, yes, we've made mistakes, big ones, including slavery, right? Does that mean we're wholesale evil? No, it doesn't mean that. Well,
here's the thing, though, is that we need to be careful, Russ, because when you say we, that's sort of, you're backing yourself into a corner.
True.
You're painting yourself into a corner because you're saying
that's a good point.
You're just saying like, there. First of all, the premise is there's a we, and then you're just trying to argue that we didn't do anything wrong. There is no we. Right. Okay. There's me. There is I. There is you. There's people that lived 200 years ago. That's it. There is nothing else. Especially when you consider it in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of the law. That necessarily has to be the case, that there is no we, there's only I. And that is the problem here, is that we can't argue based upon we have to argue based upon I. Did I do anything wrong? No, I am not paying reparations.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Were you ever enslaved? no, you don't deserve reparations. I mean,
Right.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Now,
And let me clarify my point. Okay, when I say we, I'm talking about we in terms of the original founding documents of what we are.
Yes.
We are a collection of individuals.
Yeah.
I don't mean collectivism in itself.
Yeah.
I mean the United States definition of we.
Yeah, and even then, like, we still have to delineate. I mean, it was not a huge area of the country that had slaves, that owned slaves. I mean, we're talking about the South, right? I mean, the South was sparsely populated. It was more rural as opposed to the North and even the West Coast. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that San Francisco, the West Coast, LA, I mean, those were huge cities back in the 1850s when slavery was
not
around.
LA came up in the early 1900s. But yes, you're right otherwise.
Sorry. Yeah, but San Francisco for sure was like huge back.
For sure.
Well, I mean, not huge, but it was a thing back in the 1850s. There was lots of people out there. Adolf Sutro went out there and built the Sutro baths. There's there's a really, really, really good podcast series called, I don't know why it's called this, but Sparkle Tech is like just go to sparkletech.com. He had this dude, I don't know who he is, but he has this fantastic, podcast series on San Francisco. You should go listen to it. And San Francisco has such a rich history going all the way back to the 1850s and even much farther beyond that.
Indeed. Yeah. They kind of became themselves in the 1850s because of the gold rush, right? But there were hella people operating there. In fact, San Francisco wasn't San Francisco. It was really a collection of many villages. That's why we call it the Mission, right? That's why we call it Chinatown, right? Because that's what they were called back then. These neighborhoods were individual villages with many, many, many people in them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, I mean, just the point is that, like, it was a small area of the country. I mean, not small. I mean, any area where there are slaves is already too big, right? That shouldn't exist. But I mean, relative to the rest of the country and everything that was going on, like, the slave-owning South was not that big, and the people who owned slaves were not that many people. So this whole idea that the United States has this, evil history of slavery and just killing the Native Americans. It's absurd. It's absurd on its face.
Yeah.
You read Alexis de Tocqueville, Democracy in America. He talks about there's a lot of cities in the United States that straddle the North and the South, and it's the same people on the North and the South. And Alexis de Tocqueville talks about that the people in the slave-owning South, they viewed manual labor as work that was beneath them. Whereas the white Europeans in the North were all about manual labor. That was the land of opportunity, was the North, and that's where everyone flocked. But in the South, the plantation owners, it was like, whites weren't supposed to do that kind of work. And he talks about how slavery sort of decayed the work ethic of the South, actually, and how it was actually really bad for whites because they had no work ethic. They viewed working as being beneath them. And, so the South was destined to lose the war. And, it's, this whole idea that the United States is predicated on slavery. AOC says this, that you're going to defend a system, a country, a people who was made possible by slavery. You idiot. The country, we are not here today because of slavery. In fact, we'd probably be farther if it weren't for slavery.
Indeed.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
We'd be farther had we not ever had slaves. We'd be much farther along. Or perhaps, yes. I don't know how much farther. I mean, who knows? But like, the existence of the middle class, which the first middle class to ever exist, ever in human history. The concept of a middle class is an American invention. There's never been a middle class before. That is uniquely American. America created the concept of a middle class. It's never existed before. That is not predicated on slavery. That is predicated on productivity. And productivity is predicated on trade for mutual benefit, as is recognized in our courts of law in the Constitution. So circling all the way back to what Russ was just saying, when we say we didn't do anything wrong, by we mean the founding documents of the country. because that's who
Yes.
we are as a country, as a system of freedom, of capitalism, of liberty, of individual rights, of you get to keep the fruits of your labor. At least that's what we were supposed to be in the beginning. We've obviously gone far away from that, but yeah, in terms of slavery, I mean, this whole idea that we owe people things because you know, we are such bad people and blah blah blah, we need to apologize. It's just total nonsense.
Indeed. And it also, this is what I love most about it, Luke, and we were talking about this before we hit the red button just today. It's really white pilling in this way because the American people are not well for this on both the right and the left, right? The American people don't want to be blamed for this as individual persons, right? And, you know, not to mention what I just said, right? There were plenty of African American. The first slaveholder in the United States was African American, even before it was called African American. The very first was, and he had many slaves, right? He was a plantation owner in Virginia, right? I think Virginia. Yeah, Virginia. Okay. Now, what is it that I want to say here right now, Luke? I'm so close and I'm not quite there yet. Okay. This is what I want to say. And it's kind of been spammed out in the media, but like, what about somebody whose family got here in the 1940s? What about the Jews who fled here from World War II? Well, right? They're white skinned. Do they owe reparations?
Yeah, I've thought about I've thought about this.
Yeah.
I don't know that they haven't put out a concrete plan of how it's going to work yet, but the most concrete understanding of how this is going to work that I've been able to find is that those who are descendants of slaves can claim reparations. And I would assume, again, I'm still waiting for the concrete understanding of this, but I would assume that would be paid for just simply through taxes. That would just be another line item on the budget as reparations towards those who can prove slave lineage. So, but I mean, you think, so what are we going to pay Deion Sanders, you know, reparations?
Right.
So this is,
anybody with the last name of Jackson or Johnson, you get reparations. You know, it really, this is what Howard Schultz called out in his town hall. Like, this definition, this line, this demarcation is very difficult to draw. You know what I mean? And so, like, what it is, like, Luke, it's going to be just like the Green New Death. It's going to be a talking point with no real plan, you know?
Well, hey, man, like, dude, you're going to be eligible.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I want my reparations, man. Yeah.
Reparations now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I don't know how my family will be impacted. I mean, one side of my family came in the early 1900s from Norway, but I mean, I've got a great uncle who fought in the Confederate Army.
Same here. I have ancestors who fought in the Confederate Army. Yeah. Some of whom were slave owners, to be fair. Some of whom were.
Yeah, I don't think any of my family was slave owners. I know that because my grandmother wrote a book, an autobiography, and she talks about picking cotton herself.
Right.
And she talks about how the cotton thing would like get up under your cuticles, like when you're trying to pick cotton. I remember her telling me about that.
That's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful story. It's true. I've picked cotton before, and so I happen to know that's true. So, yeah. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I mean, it's just another one of these things that we're going to have to suffer through for the next,
well, dude, this is
till 2020.
I mean,
you know,
here's the thing, dear listener. Here's the thing, is that, all this stuff. When I said the sticker shock, this is what I'm referring to. The sticker shock of this is really bad. I mean, you hear about these things, and you're just like, oh my God, how did we get to this point? And you think, oh my God, they're winning. No, they are in the throes of death. That's what this is.
Indeed.
They are becoming more radical as they die out. There is no way. First of all, there's two things that I want to say on this. First of all, there's no way anybody who is innocent and actually believes themselves to be innocent. Now, it's possible to be both innocent and feel guilty. This is called unearned guilt. So there are a lot of people who think about reparations and they're like, even though they're innocent, metaphysically, they are innocent, they're still thinking to themselves, oh, I just, I'm okay with reparations. I'm okay with it. There's a lot of people that are like this, right? And then there's a lot of other people who are just, they're just like, no, I'm innocent, and that's who I am. I am an innocent person. And I don't think, Russ, that second group of people is smaller than the first. I think that the left is going to bleed support. They are going to bleed support because I think that there are more people who honestly view themselves as being innocent than the other way around, than people feeling that they are guilty in spite of the fact that they are indeed actually innocent and did nothing wrong. So I think that, I think that's something worth considering. Well, we should probably move on here at this point.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. We got some pretty funny stuff about this, if I may say so.
In this, you can see now. Here's the thing. Okay, so AOC, she was at the National. What did we say it was? The National Association of what?
The National Action Network.
National Action Network. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh God, dude. So
pretty funny. I know. I almost cursed. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It's all good. I think we talked about this on a previous show. When you hear somebody like using a lot of filler words like and, you can see AOC suffering the same again. She does it all the time. She did it last week. She did it the week before, and she does it again now, except in a much, 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 much worse way. Dare I say, Russ, is it possible that she should pay reparations for what she did?
After this performance that we just saw, I would say most definitely so. Most definitely so.
So what do we got?
This is cultural reappropriation at its worst right now. At its worst.
So describe what we have here, Russ.
All right. So what we got here is AOC speaks at NAN this week. She kind of stepped in it. She kind of stepped in it big time. And she not only got pushback from people on the right, she got pushback from Al Sharpton himself, the kingmaker, as he's trying to be himself, right? And listen, I'm sorry to laugh about it. It's not funny. It's really kind of terrible, right? But like, she pulled a Hillary Clinton in the House right now. Do y'all, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, Hillary Clinton speaks very measuredly. She speaks very drastically. And it's just an awful good thing that we don't have a president with the temperament of someone like Donald Trump, right? But then she shows up at a rally in Arkansas and she's like, oh, what's going on, y'all? We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We stronger together, right? And so, like, she is an actress, right? She's not really a serious politician, well, even though Hillary Clinton is. Don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, like, what we got here is AOC pulling a Hillary Clinton, right? Where she appropriates her own accent itself and an entire culture all rolled up into one. And like, yeah, man. I'm sorry, dear listener. Luke just messaged me something. It's a good meme, man. It's a good meme. Yeah. We would show it to you if we could, but it's in photographic form, and we're doing audio here right now. We can't show it. Can't show it to you, but if we could, we would. Believe this, dear listener. Sorry about that. Sorry, but thank you, man. Thank you.
I can't stop laughing, man.
This is how it goes. Dear listener. Like, okay, like while we're sitting here bringing the heat, right, shaping the ideasphere, saying things, coining terms like blob party and all this kind of stuff, we're also kind of always, as we have reported in previous episodes in these hallowed halls, we're also kind of sending stuff back and forth on the message chat, and so that's what happened. Yeah. In the show message chat,
you're gonna have to fork over some shekels to see our in-show message chat.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The dearest of dearest listeners can't get in here for free. That's what's up. can't get in here for free.
We're talking extreme vetting.
Extreme vetting. Yes. Extreme vetting. Shekels and extreme vetting. Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, if it's that dearest of a listener, I don't think it would be shekels.
Well, yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's a good point. But like
I'm still man.
I know. Oh. Okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to introduce this bit. I'm just going to hit the play button. Just listen to this. Let me and Luke kind of recover here for a minute. Here it comes, coming at you.
Is what organizing looks like.
Right.
This is what building power looks like. This is what changing the country looks like. It's when we choose to show up and occupy the room and talk about the things that matter most, talking about our future. Reverend, you bring up a funny anecdote, and I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. There is nothing wrong with preparing the food that your neighbors will eat. There is nothing wrong with driving the buses that take your family to work. There is nothing wrong with being a working person in the United States of America, and there is everything dignified about it.
All right, okay, so that's it.
I have a dream.
Yeah, I know it. I ain't nothing wrong. Ain't nothing wrong. Oh my God. And so, like, when was it that Al Sharpton came out and socially corrected her? Was it immediately after her like little throwdown right here where he came out and he's like, "We don't talk like that up in here."
Yeah,
you're right, because
it was after. It was
I think it was right then and there. And like, dear listener, go look at the clip. We found it on YouTube. You can find it yourselves. It's AOC speaks at Sharpton's NAN conference. Go look for it. And look how crazy this woman looks in the eyes, right? Even as she's trying to say it's all good. Ain't nothing wrong being a bartender.
Careful, Russ. You're about to. You're speaking.
I know. I'm hitting that appropriation mark, man. I know. I'm mocking AOC though. I know it. Man,
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, dear Liz. I didn't mean to break down like that into laughter, but I just had one of those moments where it's sort of like everything came flooding to me, and all of it is just so hilarious.
Indeed. Yeah, man, it's so much better to like work it out with laughter than crying, man. And
dude, I'm doing both right now. I'm literally crying right now.
You're laugh crying.
Yeah, I'm wiping my eyes right now. I'm laughing so hard.
Yeah, me too. I'm dabbing. Whoa. I don't mean.
Yeah, don't. You're gonna get us kicked off YouTube, man. Careful. Too much culture. There's only so much cultural appropriation. No.
My bad, man. My bad.
I wonder if YouTube has a cultural appropriation algorithm where it's like
I'm 100% certain
where
they
it's
do.
like the way you speak, you're identified as being white, and then if you start speaking like you're black, then it like sends the alarm bells in the algorithm, and you get suspended.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Let me put it that way. I'm sure of it. So, yeah.
Oh God, dude.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just trying to.
Are we great again?
I think so. Yeah. I hope so. I gotta lower my mic. Hold on. All right.
Okay. All right. Excuse me. Sorry about that, dear listener. Well, we've got a little bit more audio to play. It dropped just last night. Are we ready to go there yet? Do we have any more stuff to say about reparations? I think we knocked that out of the park, man. To be honest.
Yeah, dude. Where are we at on time? I know we're somewhere.
51. Oh, 52. We're at 52.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, we had some intro banter, so we're at 51. Right, like that.
All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If we want to do break audio, I'm cool with that. Yeah. And
oh no. We got one more bit of topical peace audio. Right?
Perfect.
We not break audio yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
We not break audio.
I was going to say really quick,
okay.
dear listener, we're probably going to keep the show around 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. So it'll be a pretty short show. I meant to say that when we started recording, but that's what it will end up being. But
hopefully,
yeah.
we're going to give you a break this week.
Yeah.
We're sightseeing this week.
Yeah. Dude,
Sightseeing.
I loved that analogy when I went back and listened to the show. And you were like, yeah, we're sightseeing this week. I don't know. I love that. That's great. We're sightseeing again.
Thank you, man.
Where are we at? We doing White Sands in New Mexico right now, Russ? Is that where we are?
Yeah, right about there. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Make our way up to Colorado, do a little skiing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh God, don't let it happen to me again. All right,
let's do this audio.
All right. So this dropped on Laura Ingraham just last night. This is about this thing that happened at Nan, and we're just gonna let Laura handle it right here in our stead.
Michael, you say that this is all a scam. Explain.
Of course it is. It's more that blame whitey movement, mania, madness. And it is sheer racial rhetoric. And that's what you get at the Al Sharpton so-called House of Justice. You have buffoonery, and you have diversion, you have distraction, you have this notion of farce. So at that House of so-called Justice, you have either a horror picture show showing, or you have a farce. Either way, it is not to be taken seriously. I can't understand how serious presidential contenders can give legitimacy to a racial blowhard. And I think it is outrageous and silly and idiocy on the part of the presidential candidates. And anybody who thinks that white Americans are going to take the blame or going to feel guilty or give their land and their property away in some sort of reparations pot because they feel responsibility for the sins of their forebears. They're not.
Now, Al Sharpton was also trying to address the improvements in the economic standing of African Americans just in the last 2 years, and he dismissed it. Let's watch.
All right, let's stop it right here. Okay. I forgot that bit was in there. Let's stop it right there. Because Al Sharpton is nowhere near as compelling as who this gentleman was, dear listener, was Michael Myers, interviewed by Laura Ingraham last night on the Ingraham Angle, former ACLU board member. And the ACLU is kind of turning into sort of a leftist hit organization.
I mean, it totally is.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, I mean, not quite up there with the SPLC, but pretty close, right? But like finally we hear a voice of reason. And I would dare say, Luke, I don't know anything about Michael Myers' political affiliations, but like he is rational and he gets it and he realizes
he's honest.
That this is honest.
Intellectually honest.
Yes, sir. That's it. And so much more compelling than Al Sharpton. So much more compelling.
Yeah, this was the thing I was going to say earlier, that this is actually, there's a white pilling side to this, and the white pilling side to all of this is that nobody is going to fall for this.
True.
I was saying earlier that there's like two types of people, and I think I failed to make my point, which my point is that there's a white pilling side, which is that this is such a losing message. It's just racism. It's collectivism. It's therefore anti-Americanism. It is everything that any rational human being would be against. Is
damn right,
all of
brother.
the stuff that the left is taking on right now. What they're taking on is water. That's it. All they are doing is taking on water.
True.
And that's all this is. And and he's calling it out, which I think is great.
Yeah, same here, man. And I could not agree more. 100%. The absolute state of the left. Go back to episode HSP number 1, dear listener. The absolute state of the left, where we started, and we had no idea that they would end up cannibalizing themselves the way that they are right now. And Luke is absolutely 100% correct. I cannot think of one issue that is going to poll more poorly than reparations, right? It is going to poll absolutely abhorrently. We don't have polling data on it yet. It just broke this week. They're going to start running polls this weekend, early next week. We'll find out some data about it, even though it'll be cooked in fake news data, but we'll still have it nonetheless. I assume that there are a lot of African Americans who would probably want reparations, right? But there are going to be just as many African Americans who don't want reparations, right? This is going to poll unanimously with white people that they don't want it. Believe that, well, except for the chin strokers and, I don't know, the virgins and, these people, they will want to pay reparations. You know, these cucks on the left, they'll want to, but nobody else.
Soy boys. And, these people.
Soy boys. Yeah.
Yeah, to your point about African Americans wanting reparations or not, here's the thing. There will be a bunch that don't, and they are the virtuous. They are the ones who know that they will not, they cannot derive happiness out of getting something which they haven't earned. And the other half don't realize that you cannot derive happiness, which is what this is all about. I mean, what is the point of being a human being? Well, it's to be happy. You want to live happy. That's the, Aristotle put this, that the purpose of being a human being is to flourish. And this is the Greek philosophers, well, really just Aristotle, because Socrates and Socrates, brah, and Plato, they Socrates was just knowledge, but it really was Aristotle, which was human flourishing. Eudaimonia is what he called it. And you cannot derive happiness out of, in order to be happy, you have to have self-esteem. You cannot be happy and not have self-esteem.
Yes.
You cannot have self-esteem if you haven't taken pride in something. You can't take pride in something if you haven't actually earned it or done it. And you are the one in your own head who knows if you earned it. And you know it. So if somebody gives you $1 million, that doesn't mean you're happy. It means you have $1 million and you can go get drunk and be an idiot or do whatever, buy a boat, waste all your money, do whatever. There's a reason why the happiest people are the people who earned all of their own money, because they take pride in having done that, which means they have self-esteem, which means they have happiness. They are happy. And so when you give reparations, what are reparations if not welfare? Qua the 1960s and 70s. Look what that did to the black community. These people do not have self-esteem. They don't have self-esteem in what they do. They don't. It's impossible. You cannot have self-esteem and receive free money.
And I'm glad you said that, man. It's 100% true. And the fact of the matter is that there are many obscenely, not obscenely, wealthy African Americans who busted their ass. I'm not going to name any of them, but
insulted. They would be insulted.
Indeed.
If you told them that they deserve reparations. They would say, "No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't need reparations.
Yeah.
Who the hell are you to come to me to tell me I deserve reparations? Who are you to say that to me?"
Yeah.
So they're catering. They're catering this. This is the thing with the left. They necessarily have to do this. They cater to the lowest common denominator.
Yep. And man, it is on its face what they are doing right now, on its face racist to people like Herman Sugar Cane, who just got promoted to a federal, well, he's about to be, not yet. It's going to happen though. He got promoted to a chairmanship of a region of the Fed, right? Okay, so the way the Fed works, there's the big Fed, dear listener, okay? Then there are numerous regions within that, right? Herman Sugar Cane is about to be leading one of those. You think Herman Sugar Cane wants reparations? Nope, he didn't want that, and he is absolutely insulted by the notion of it.
As he should be.
Indeed, sir.
All right, dude. Let's move on. What do you say?
All right. We break now?
Yeah.
Is that where we at? We break?
Let's do break.
All right. So let me close some tabs here real fast. All right, close. All right, so what we got here right now, dear listener, okay, we got some audio that Shady Nate out of LA sent the HSP boys, and Shady Nate, shout out. We want you back in the house in these hallowed halls ASAP. He gave us some audio from Stephen Bannon speaking at the Western Petroleum Marketers Association in Vegas. Now, it happened a while back. All right. It's a little bit old, but it still checks out. A little stale, but it still checks out. It happened on March 11th. And Nate, man, we appreciate it very much. You have a seat at the table here in the HSP's halls anytime you want. You need to come back very soon, brother. You need to come back soon. Get back on. Well, I was about to say something racist, but I better check myself.
Check your
privilege.
privilege.
Do you know what I was fixing to say?
No, I actually don't.
I was going to say you need to get back on the plantation with the HSP boys. Hey.
Well, no, dude. I mean, we're making a trek right.
Anyway.
You need to get back on the trail.
You're back on the trail. That's
I mean,
exactly
had you
right.
said back on the trail of tears, then maybe. But
well, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we blazed the trail, and Nate, you're welcome anytime. The HSP boys miss you. Let's put it that way, Nate. And you brought the business on our special episode. Was it Christmas Eve? It
was the Christmas episode that he was on. Yeah, that was a great episode, man.
Yeah, man. It was, man. One of my favorites.
For sure.
It was. God, Luke, it's so crazy. We've got so many episodes in the house now, man. You know?
I think I think after we record this, I'm gonna go listen to that.
I might do the same, man. I might do the same. Yeah. Yeah. That was a good day, man. Robert was in the house. Nate was in the house. Yeah. It was a really good day. It was a really good day, man. We all had fun. Yeah. Yeah. Dropped the content. It was a great show, man. It was. All right. So anyways, we break now. You ready for this? You ready for this? All right. All right. So anyways, I've already told you what it is. It's Stephen Bannon. And I'm just going to take it from the very top. Let us play about how much time you want, Luke? Maybe about 7 to 10 minutes, somewhere in there.
That works, yeah.
All right, all right. Well, give us 7 to 10 minutes of real time, dear listener. Back at you before you know it. Here it comes.
I want to take you back in time a little bit. September 18th, 2008. I think it was 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. Oval Office. President of the United States, head of the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, Secretary of Treasury, Hank Paulson. Lehman Brothers had been kicked into bankruptcy in London on Monday, in New York later in the day on Monday. In 48 hours, they realized that Lehman Brothers was central to the working capital market, the commercial paper market. The financial system started to collapse. Bernanke and Paulson are not alarmist. They told the president, if we don't have $1 trillion cash infusion into the U.S. financial system by 5 o'clock this afternoon, the American financial system will collapse in 48 hours. The world's financial system will collapse 72 hours after that. And we will have global anarchy and chaos in a week. I want you to embrace that for a second. Because the fuse that got lit there and with that match is what brought Donald Trump to the presidency. President Bush said, it's not my responsibility. You gotta go up to Capitol Hill. We've checked. I don't have the authorization to do that. They went up and saw Pelosi and Harry Reid, McConnell in a meeting. Balance sheet of the Federal Reserve at 10 o'clock in the morning on September 18th of 2008 was $880 billion. Balance sheet of the Federal Reserve at noon on the 20th of January 2017, when Donald Trump took the oath of office, was $4.5 trillion. We essentially just printed money. There's all kind of fancy terms for quantitative easing, all this. In a panic, and that's what it was, you remember, I don't have to tell, particularly entrepreneurs, it's the greatest financial crisis, far greater than the Great Depression. It's the greatest financial crisis we ever had. And the permanent political class and the elites made a conscious decision to bail themselves out. Happened Bank of Tokyo, European Central Bank, Bank of England, Federal Reserve, all the same thing. The party of Davos. Flood the zone with liquidity. Lift up real estate prices, stocks, the hedge funds, if you own assets. Had to save the system. No one had ever conceived of deflation, right? Deflation like this, potential deflation. If you go to those that took economics in college, you go back to your textbooks of Samuelson and all these great economists, they're all irrelevant. Never had a time of negative interest rates for this prolonged period. Richard Fisher, the reason we know this, it's all in congressional testimony. It was kind of buried later, but it's all in congressional testimony what went on. Richard Fisher from Dallas, governor of the Federal Reserve down there, Federal Reserve Bank, argued in the meetings that kept on with the most progressive president in history, President Obama, continued to flood the zone. He said, this is not free. This is not free. There's a big cost to this. And the cost is to the working class and to the middle class. Because remember, the reverse of the negative interest rates is you get zero in a savings account. 5,000 years of the Judeo-Christian West, we've taught one thing. To be a good householder is to put money away, to save for the future. Now you get zero. You're a sucker. We have a $9.5 trillion gap in our pension liabilities versus obligations because of the negative interest rates, principally. $9.5 trillion. School districts, even if they weren't over leveraged, can't issue a bond offering to fix a roof because there's no juice in the bond offering. It was the working class and the middle class that paid the price for this. Yeah, we saved the system. We didn't get to the core problems. We kicked the can down the road. We're kicking the can down the road today. That's what Donald Trump tapped into. People say, hey, Bannon, you guys, you populists, you economic nationalists, the deplorables, why are they so angry? Why are they so angry all the time? They're rational human beings. They understand what's going on. We just had the hurricane situation down in Texas. What, a year or so ago? The Federal Reserve and the Treasury did this analysis. Half of the households in the country can't put their hands on $400 in cash to buy a generator, right? You take the equity in a home, which is, I think, fairly ephemeral. Take the equity in a home away from an average American. I think they've got $10,000 in a bank account. Donald Trump was able to tap into that. When I stepped into the campaign August 13th, I think there was 88 days ago. He's down, I don't know, pick the poll, 10, 12, 14, 16 points. Double digits down in most battleground states. And I said that night when I took the job, I said, don't worry about any of that. Those numbers don't matter. Only two numbers that count. Right track, wrong track. 2/3 of the people still think the country's on the wrong track. They admire President Obama. They admire President Obama and his wife. They still think the country's on the wrong track, and he was not the agent of change. But I said the more important number is all this analysis that Pat Caddell's doing. Pat Caddell, who just passed away a few days ago, an absolute giant in American politics. A Democrat that had been with the last populist president, Jimmy Carter, but he understood this kind of populist movement. He said his analysis showed for the first time in American history, working class and middle class people at 70%, it had broken the 70% number, believed America was in decline, and the elites were comfortable with that. And I said, to 100% metaphysical certitude, you will win. If we just stick to the basic themes of your campaign, we're just going to compare and contrast every day that she is the representative of a corrupt and incompetent elite, and that you are essentially the tribune of the people in three things. You're going to stop mass illegal immigration and limit legal immigration to re-implement the rule of law to get our sovereignty back, but most importantly, to protect our workers. Unskilled workers at the low level, African American and Hispanic primarily, and skilled workers in the tech industry with the HB1 visas and the legal immigration, to limit it until we get wages up. Number two, we're going to bring back manufacturing jobs from China. And number three, we're going to get out of these pointless foreign wars that have cost us $7 trillion with what, 10, 12,000 dead, 40,000, 50,000 wounded? $7 trillion. And every day in the campaign, if you go back and look, he hammered this, he hammered this, he hammered this. And that's eventually why we won in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania. The districts with the highest combat casualties voted for Trump, Democratic districts, in kind of historic numbers. Working class Democrats came over and supported Donald Trump. Working class and middle class people saw in Trump a voice that will return America to her former glory. You got to remember, at 5 o'clock in the evening on Election Day, we get the exit polls. And I've been telling them every day, through Billy Bush, all the debates, stick to the message. We're going to win this. 100% metaphysical certitude. Exit polls come out. We're tied in Ohio and Iowa, which I had us up 5 points. We're losing everywhere else. It's a landslide, Clinton landslide. 400 electoral votes. That's why in the newsrooms they're all high-fiving. Megyn Kelly's putting on her makeup. They're laughing. They're joking. The New York Times. Trump is not only beaten, this is a humiliating defeat. 8:30, 9 o'clock. Detroit Free Press. Been around for 150 years. Never been wrong. Declared Michigan for Hillary Clinton. I said, hang on for a second. Hang over a second. Hang over a second. And you start to see it turn in Florida, in North Carolina, in Ohio. And finally at midnight, Detroit Free Press came out and said, correction, too close to call. That's when I told Donald Trump he's president of the United States. Because we're going to win Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. You know where the exit polls are wrong? The pollsters are pretty good. They were wrong for two reasons. Number one, there's a lot of people that will vote for Donald Trump that don't want to tell anybody about it, right? That's because of the cultural Marxist of what they're trying to do in demonizing working class and middle class people. The others, they had the algorithm wrong. They took what was coming from the cities and just extrapolated the historical algorithm and didn't understand that the small communities in the rural areas would come so overwhelmingly for Trump. That was the difference. Starting that night outside of Trump Tower, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And they were not there for a victory celebration. Yes, President Trump, we had the people in the red hats. But it was basically the beginning of the nullification project, right? The resistance. They were not prepared to give President Trump a chance to bring the country together. Stephen Miller and I that night, President Trump's very superstitious. We didn't write a concession speech or a victory speech. Very superstitious. And I am too. I thought it was smart. So Miller and I are kind of doing our thing when we knew we'd won after midnight. Of course, AP didn't call it till 2:30 in the morning, right? Because the opposition party media didn't want Donald Trump on anywhere near time that people could see him. We knew Wisconsin were going to win and Michigan were going to win. Pennsylvania were going to win, but they held it all back. So we write a speech, and it's like a campaign speech. It said, hey, nobody thought we were going to win. This is the biggest upset in American political history. We're going to march to D.C., and we're going to take on the permanent political class. Pitchforks and torches, we're coming.
All right, welcome back to HSP episode number 34. Russ, are you there?
34. Yes, sir.
All
I'm
right.
here. I'm in the house.
Yeah, man. What did you think about that?
I thought it started slowly. But I thought it was fantastic, man. And Steve Bannon, where art thou? Listen, everything's kind of gone to hell in the Trump cabinet since Steve Bannon left. Nate told me that himself, or I told Nate. I can't remember how it went down, but that's how. And our mutual boy Luke, yeah, we were all in on this text thread, which is the greatest text thread of all time, if I do say so myself, which I do. But man, what a narrative. And like Steve Bannon saw through the miasma of all of the propaganda of everything. And he just detailed it right there. For the Western Petroleum Marketers Association, what a speech. And what's more remarkable, I think, is that he had no cue cards. He had no paper. This is in Steve Bannon's head, and he can speak that well. How did you think it went?
I think it went all right. I listened to it earlier this week. I mean, I pretty much differ on Steve. Pretty much differ politically from Steve Bannon on just about everything. Really? Yeah, totally. I mean, he's a pragmatist. He's a populist. He
is a pragmatist and a populist.
Yeah, he talks about capitalism. He's like, oh yeah, we want to harness the virtues of capitalism and because it works. And I'm just like, whatever. Like that. Like as soon as you say that, you've just cucked all of your principles in terms of freedom, liberty, individual rights. So that's
a good point, man. That's a good point.
Yeah, he's a complete and total collectivist. In terms of his usage of the word metaphysical in that, it's totally incorrect.
Yeah.
He's using Jordan Peterson does this a lot too. They use fancy words and that nobody really understands so that they can sort of shore up their credibility to their audience. And so when he was using that, I was just like, "Oh my god, dude, you don't even know what that word means."
Same here. Same here.
But I don't know. He seems like an amicable guy, I guess.
Well, I actually hear that he's an asshole. I don't know. I've never met the man, but I hear it a lot of places that he's kind of an asshole.
I thought that would be his one redeeming quality.
I can't really pick apart anything you just said. He is a pragmatist. He is a populist. I am somewhat of a populist. I do recognize the dangers of populism. I get it, right? But he is the one who drugged Donald Trump over the finish line, Luke. He and Kellyanne Conway, to be fair. Well, they did it.
Yeah.
They did it.
Here's the problem is that populism is an ideology sans principles. It is an ideology of not being principled. That's what populism is. It's
true.
A principle.
It's lick your finger, stick it up in the air, and where's the wind blowing? That's where I go. That's what populism is.
And that's exactly where it's gotten us with Trump.
Yeah.
Has it not?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It just hurts so bad, man. But that's true. That's true. It sucks to admit that, man. But listen, I don't want to be harsh on the president. The president does great things, man. He got us out of TPP. He got us out of the Paris Climate Accord. He's done so many fantastic things.
Well, that was when the wind was blowing in our direction, though.
True. That's it. Listen, man, I don't want to counter signal the president, man. I'm ride or die with this president. He has done so much for everybody, not just us, for them. I don't know. It begs the question, Luke, have we reached a time where principles are out the window? Well, yes, we have. Yes, we have. Except for AOC, we have entirely reached that moment. That's not true. There are some people on the right.
I mean, I think that it's not that we've reached the point in which principles are out the window. I think that we've reached peak non-principle.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
The principles were out the window with President number 2 of the United States.
True. True.
I mean, George Washington was literally the only principled president. I mean, as soon as we hit John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, all of them were pragmatists. None of them believed in individual rights, or really. If you really want to get down,
I would say Jefferson did. I would say he did. But
no way, dude. No way, man. Jefferson owned like over 200 slaves.
Yeah, but it was a different time, a different way of seeing the world. I get your point.
Yeah, I mean, like he on paper, yeah, absolutely. On paper, yes. In practice, absolutely not. Thomas Jefferson.
And speaking,
I was going to say, yeah, just on paper, sure, absolutely. Like Thomas Jefferson actually represented a black man in court who was a sharecropper.
True.
And he lost that lawsuit, but then he went into government but I mean, Thomas Jefferson, like, he owned over 200 slaves. And anybody who okay, like, this is sort of a tangent, but this also ties into the first segment when we were talking about the economy being propped up by slavery, that we have what we have today because of slavery. This is like, you don't know your history if you think that, because Thomas Jefferson died more than $1 million in debt. Thomas Jefferson, when he died, he was so far in debt that his heirs had to sell off all of their slaves, which was, I think when he died, they had like 130 slaves, and he had to sell all of them off, including all the land, everything. They just sell everything just to pay off all of his debt. So like, the slaves, they propped up. No, like that's completely false. Thomas Jefferson struggled mightily to try and utilize his slaves in such a way so as to be profitable, and he never was able to. He was in debt. He died so far in debt, his heirs had to sell all of the slaves off at the end just to not go bankrupt. So this is just complete nonsense, but I don't even know where I started with that. What did I start with that, Russ?
We were talking about like the founding fathers and pragmatism, and how none of them except for George Washington were virtuous.
Yeah, I mean, and I need to read more about George Washington. I'm kind of right now working my way through all the forefathers. I mean, it's one thing to know about them. It's another thing to study really know about them. So like, I really know well about Benjamin Franklin. I've read his autobiography. I really know well about Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson. But George Washington, he's like the one founding father that I haven't made my way to yet. So I can't really say how principled he really was.
And there's a reason. Yeah. I mean, he was a good bastard, that's for sure. And he felt. You got to keep in mind, okay, of all of the founding fathers, George Washington was the only one who fought, right? That's why it's really hard to find out information about him, except for like little tidbits here and there about the fact that he had wooden teeth instead of real teeth, which is true, right? That's because he didn't really have time to document his life because he was fighting the revolution.
I've got a question, Russ.
Okay.
If you have wooden teeth, can you smoke?
George Washington did.
All right. So here's another question. Does everything you taste smoked?
That's a great question. I
mean,
don't
if
know.
it is, if I can pull my teeth out, give me wooden teeth now.
Great, sir.
I want post oak teeth.
Yeah. Wood lips, wood teeth, and a wooden tongue. By God. Yeah. Absolutely.
I won't be able to speak, but if everything tastes like a smoked brisket, sign me up.
But like, the last point I want to hit about this is that, okay, so like there are the founding documents. Everybody knows about those, but there are much lesser known documents, which are called the Federalist Papers. John Adams wrote many of those Federalist Papers, right? This is another example where he writes a great game, but does not necessarily walk the walk of a great game. And I don't know, man. I've been reading John Adams quotes all week, man. People have been posting them in comments. Excuse me, dear listener. People have been posting them in comment sections here and there. He is the most quoted man of the week, that's for sure. And so I've been tracking down what he has to say about, where does this quote come from, right? And John Adams is not my favorite, but he did write the Federalist Papers. He was a Federalist from the very beginning, right? Even though he talked about his federalism in terms of confederacy, right?
What do you mean by that?
He was not a Federalist in the way like Alexander Hamilton was. Alexander Hamilton wanted the United States to be controlled by a central bank, which is where we are right now. So Alexander Hamilton actually objectively won, right? And Andrew Jackson did a lot to undo that. He shut down the central bank in 1828, I believe, something like that, about 40 years after the founding of our country, right? But what I mean about John Adams in particular is that he was all about states' rights, except that he wasn't.
Oh, dude,
right?
no.
Except
John Adams was not. This was the big argument between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson.
Yes,
is that
exactly.
Thomas Jefferson was all about states' rights, and he wanted an agrarian economy.
Mm-hmm.
John Adams was all about. When they say the Federalist Papers, what they really mean is the federal government papers.
Exactly.
Edifying
So
the federal
that's a
government.
great point, man.
And
Exactly.
so John Adams and his crew, they were like all about the federal government. They were all about industrialization. They're like, the future of the United States is industrialization. That's the future of our economy. That was John Adams. People don't realize that was president number 2, the second president of the United States. Like, when you talk about capitalism, this wasn't this like laissez-faire capitalism. It was the second president who was already going on about this is the future of the economy. I mean, we've never been in an economy which is just pure laissez-faire capitalism. It's never existed ever in human history. Like, it factually never has existed. Now, like, so and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson like had a huge feud about this, because Thomas Jefferson was all about states' rights and he was all about agrarian. He was like, no, the future of the United States is not industrialization, it's agrarian societies.
Correct.
And and this was the Federalist Papers when they were writing this back and forth. It's not the Federalist Papers, it's the federal government papers. That's what it is.
Yes, sir. And it never really became an actuality, a true federal system, until Abraham Lincoln. It took until 1865, after the end of the Civil War, when finally the Federalists were able to push the ball over. And the Civil War, I'm not going to get into that. I've been reading a lot about the Civil War. Civil War is a misnomer, and maybe we'll do a deep dive on it someday, but I've been red pilling myself about it over the last month, okay? But like, really, federal power was never consolidated until the Reconstruction of the South, which was the slavery of the South. That's the simple fact of the matter. And finally, the Federalists got the ball across the goal line in the guise of Abraham Lincoln. And that is a fact.
Yeah. Would you, there's this big controversy around the switch, which is like when the right turned left and the left turned right. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, very.
Okay, what are your thoughts on that?
It has literally flip-flopped back. This is just an opinion, okay? There are plenty of arguments against my premise, and I get these arguments, right? I totally get it, right? It is my opinion that the same struggle has always existed, right? It is individualism versus collectivism forever, okay? What I think is that in terms of political parties, even though people on the right wing right now try to say, oh yeah, the Democrats are the party of the KKK. They're the parties who fought the Civil War. They're the party who blah, 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 blah. Well, there's a lot of nuance to this. And the fact of the matter is that there has been a lot of flipping back and forth in just, okay, let's consider this. All right. Texas used to be a Democrat state entirely. There was no chance a Republican was ever going to win in the state. All right, here's a barometer of what I'm talking about right now, right? And until the Republican Party became conservative, right? Then all of a sudden, the Democrat Party became liberal, right? And so everybody in Texas moved to the Republican Party. because it was more conservative. And we're not talking ancient history. We're talking about Barry Goldwater. Yeah.
Barry Goldwater was the 60s,
But the move of Texas to the Republican Party, right then. That's when it happened.
Yeah, my grandparents were, from Bay City. They were Blue Dog Democrats.
Same here, bro.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they became Republican.
My grandparents never made the jump to the Republican Party, but they did realize in their lifetimes that their party was no longer recognizable to them, that it had become so liberal and they were not liberal, man. They were the most conservative people I've ever known. Nonetheless, they were Democrats.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know about this flip-flop theory, and I believe it's true.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. There's a couple things to understand about this. So me being somebody in my mid 30s, I was told this by every history teacher in high school. They're like, oh, no, it was the liberals in the 1800s who freed the blacks, and then it was then they flip-flopped. And dude, by the way, it's totally random, but well, not totally, but the German translation of the movie Christmas Vacation, the when Aunt Bethany does the prayer for the Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
So that in the German, when they translated that to German, obviously the Pledge of Allegiance is not funny to Germans. They don't understand that. They come up with this new speech, and she's going on. So in the German translated version, she's like, I would like to thank Lincoln for freeing the blacks.
True. That's true. I've forgotten about that, but that's true.
You're going on about it. It's really funny. But, yeah, this whole flip-flop thing, it's interesting because the right has really always, even since Lincoln was a Republican.
Indeed.
It really has always been the party of individual rights.
Yeah, that's true.
It always has been. It's just been a matter of a way in which it has been framed.
Well, actually, I would say right now it is not the party of individual rights. There is no party of individual rights. That's true.
Yeah, you caught me there. Yep. You're right. There is no party of individual rights.
Yeah.
In as much as I'm a cruise missile, I'm a cruise missile in the sense that I think that cruise is the best shot we have at individual rights.
I entirely agree. Rand Paul as well. Rand Paul does check federal power.
But he's not politically viable.
He pissed me off so bad, man. Pissed me off so bad.
Yeah, and he's not politically viable. All right, what are we on to next, dude? We should move on. What do you think?
All right, so I think we're on Biden right now, man. Okay, so Biden had this event yesterday. He spoke somewhere. I don't recall what it was. I think I have the audio pulled up somewhere, but we're not going to get into it. Because who cares what Biden has to say? Who cares, right? But the simple fact of the matter is this, okay? The way he fronted in this is he had a young boy with him, and he was touching him all over, which is creepy. That's why he earned the moniker Creepy Uncle Joe, right? And I talked a lot about this in Botchdad number 4. If you're interested in this, go listen to it, dear listener. I think if you're interested in Biden, segment number 2 in Botchdad number 4. Okay. So what is happening right now is this. Okay. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm touching this little boy, but I do have his mother's permission. His mother's this fine woman. Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit over friendly. I'm a little bit too hugging. I'm a little bit too touchy-feely. I'm going to work on that. And he's saying this in public at a speech, right? And meanwhile, as he's doing it in real time, the New York Times, WAPO, all of them are running cover for him, saying, yeah, this is just his brand of politics. This is just what a friendly guy is. All this bullshit. Pardon my French. Sorry about that. I do curse on Botchdad, but Luke and I try not to curse so much in this show. So what I find interesting about this whole Me Tooing of Biden does not interest me even in the slightest. What interests me after I recorded Botchdad on Thursday night, and now that all of a sudden Biden throws this speech, this event on Friday, right? And he's all acting like the worst thing he's ever done is kissed inappropriately, smelled people's hair inappropriately, groped inappropriately, right? This is the worst thing he's ever done, right? What I am seeing right now is the fact that what Biden is doing is running cover for his corruption in Ukraine every which way. Okay. Not just taking kickbacks, using U.S. government power in order to get kickbacks for his son, Hunter Biden, right? Also corrupting the entire Ukraine political system, right? Also using Ukraine as a weapon to influence the 2016 election in the favor of Hillary Clinton. Now that is the real crime right there. I honestly really don't give a damn about any of this Me Tooing of Biden. I really don't care, man. Other than again, as I said, this is old news, man. This is not anything new, right? The Dems are just trying to bring this out right now to sabotage his presidential campaign. Okay, fine. Enjoy it, by the way. Let's sit back and savor this right now about the fact that Biden is being sabotaged by his own party. There's so much division among the left in the Democratic Party. This is great. This is nothing but great, right? But Biden's trying to get up here in our face right now and be like, oh yeah, the worst thing I've ever done is to be inappropriate. I'm just a friendly guy. I'm just a really friendly guy, and like it's a cover for his corruption.
Bring it. It's so telling of the left today, where he's like, oh. I mean, this is how bad their message is and how little they have. They have no ideas. We've said this so many times ad nauseum. But he's
HSP number one, boy.
And he's just like
34 straight episodes.
I don't touch women and children. That's like his biggest platform selling point. That he doesn't inappropriately touch children.
Good, man. Good. That's true.
I mean, what else is it? Like, it's just all of this vague language, vague, non-essential language. I mean, there's essential language and then there's non-essential language. And people Obama and Biden are very skilled in non-essential language.
Indeed, sir.
Which is just it's stuff that you just interpret.
Yeah. So I mean, Biden is blob. He is not going to win the nomination. All right, he's too dirtied up right now. And I talked about on Botchdad number 4 that there is a lot of scuttlebutt.
He is the chosen one, but I think the left is kind of like, oh man, maybe we need a new chosen one.
Well, speaking of, man, do we have a chosen one? We just, dare I say, Luke, have we a chosen one in the house right now?
Yeah, we do. Yang Gang.
What do you think? Yang Gang. I mean, he's not white, so he's got that going for him. And I will say this also, man. He had a T-shirt blast this week that said Yang Gang on it. It was an American flag that said Yang Gang. And he printed up 1,000 and it sold out in minutes. All 1,000 sold out in minutes.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think he's the chosen one, but I'm loving the meme magic that's coming from it.
Yeah, I love how the alt-right defaults to Yang now, and Yang is a serious contender, but I don't think he's the chosen one.
No, God, no. He's not going to make it. It's a joke. All of it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the alt-right is a joke.
Yeah, well, true.
They're backing him. They're like, oh yeah, we're Yang now. I
actually said that to somebody I work with today, and I was like, man, the alt-right is unironically Yang Gang now. And he looks me in the eye and starts laughing. He goes, that's a troll, bro. That's a troll. It's like, maybe some of it is a troll, but really it's not, man. They're not ironic about this. They support this bastard.
The alt-right they are a total Yang Gang.
Yeah. Ain't it funny? Totally. Man? And yeah. All right, so I'm still on the hook, and I'm going to re-edify my earlier prediction from HSP 26. I'm expecting Michelle Obama to show up any moment now to save her party, perhaps Hillary, right? But at the moment, dare I say that we're calling the chosen one at the moment, Luke? Dare I say?
Yeah, it's Pete Buttigeig.
It's hard. It's so hard to say his name.
Buttigeig.
Yeah, I know.
That's how
I
you
know.
say it. It's
Yeah.
Boot Edge
Yeah.
Edge.
Mayor Pete.
Buttigeig.
Yeah. Buttigeig. Let's work on it together for a second here. Pete Buttigeig. Okay. All right. I got it.
His name.
It's hard
his
to
name
say, man.
was Pete Buttigeig.
Well, he's coming up impressive, man. I'm not going to lie. Impressively, I know, but I say it impressive just because. And he raised what, $9 million last month? $9 million?
Yeah.
That buries Beta, Robert son of Rourke, and Bernie Sanders in a month. Dude, he is slaying them in fundraising. Absolutely slaying them.
Yeah, I think he's a strong candidate. I think he's the chosen one. You heard it here first.
I at the moment, the way I see it right now, I do too. I do too. Yeah.
What do you think about his dad being a Marxist?
Well, okay, I got red pilled about this from Rush this week, man, and I only get to listen to about 2 hours of Rush per week, and I savor those 2 hours because, man, Rush is the gold standard, and I love him so much, man. I've been listening to him for a long damn time, tell you what. And I believe that there was another dear listener who called to our attention the fact that Rush busted his father as an absolute dyed-in-the-wool Marxist professor of the Frankfurt School that has been working in our education system for forever. Well, it turns out that nonsense is true. It's 100% true. His dad is a Marxist. Like we ain't talking. We're talking about original OG Marxist is what he is. And he's been preaching this to our children for decades. Luke just red pilled me about the fact that he passed away in January, right? Yeah. And so like Rush's argument, and what is so brilliant, all right, Luke and I research, right? We do the work. We do the business up in here, right? Rush just kind of remembers this shit from going years back, and he can just pull it up off the top of his head. And that's what he did in this segment this week. And he recalled the name Buttigeig, right? And how his father is a dyed-in-the-wool Marxist. And he was like, listen, the apple never falls far from the tree. Don't listen to anything Mayor Pete says right now trying to come across as a centrist. He is a Marxist. I believe he's correct. What say you, Luke?
Well, in terms of evidence of what we have to go by, that wouldn't seem to be the case, but...
True.
He was in the Navy. I don't think he would have joined the Navy if he was a hardcore Marxist. I think he'd have a beard. I think that he'd be much different than he is.
Well, he's pretty, man. I'll give him that. He's pretty. He's really pretty.
I don't know. I tend to have a more favorable view of him, but I don't think that he's a Marxist. I've watched many hours of him at this point. I would say upwards of 5 hours of content from like watching interviews. And I can't honestly say that he's a Marxist. I mean, if he is, then he's just pure lying at this point. I really read into things when people say things, and I see Buttigeig and I'm like, no, not a Marxist. So if he is,
I hope you're right, man.
If he is, then he's just straight up lying. If he is, then he's a straight up actor. But I don't think he is. I think he's just honestly, I think he's just like a well put together, intelligent, marketable centrist. I think that's about it. Now, centrist means leftist, but
yeah, right.
So,
right.
I mean, I'm not endorsing him by any means, but yeah, I think he's just an amicable, amiable, friendly centrist who leans left, and that's about it. I don't hate the guy, to be honest with you.
Same here. I don't hate him. Yeah, he's smart. He's articulate, right? But Luke, I'm gonna just tell you, man. No offense, man. Let's don't make this be a problem between the HSP boys. But I'm gonna go with Rush on this one. I think he is a dyed-in-the-wool Marxist who is lying. That's what I
Well, then that would be great.
Right.
Do you know why? Because if he got elected on that premise, then he will come out as a liar. Remember.
True.
We've talked about this on many shows previously. You cannot fake reality. You can fake reality, but eventually reality will catch up with you. So if you lie and say you're not a Marxist and you get elected president and then suddenly you're a Marxist, well, guess what? You and everybody around you, your entire political party, all of your careers are over. So don't worry about it. It's all good. Even if he gets elected.
Yeah, okay, good point.
Even if he gets elected president and then he turns into Marx himself, like Marx reincarnate, well then great. Cool. Awesome. The left is done.
That's a good point, man. That's a good point. That's a damn good point, as a matter of fact. And yeah. I still see it in the tea leaves, even though Trump kind of effed up this week. I don't see anybody that is a threat to Trump right now. I don't see anybody.
Buttigeig is for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You think so? How come?
Yeah.
How come?
He is non-controversial. The mainstream media has done a very good job of making it feel as if there's a cancer there politically. It's just this. The mainstream media is just they go on with this Trump mania. Trump said this, racism, Russia, and it's as if you have a pet that has cancer, and it's constantly in the back of your head, and it's like suddenly if you could get a new pet that didn't have cancer, then you're like, oh, thank God. Now I can eat dinner. I can feel good about myself again. That's what Pete man, I've got my throat.
I tell you what, I get it. I know.
Yeah. Pete Buttigieg is the cancer-free pet of the left. That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point, man. Yeah. And again, very articulate. And yeah, man, I agree with you. He is a threat. I do think that the God Emperor would make mincemeat of him in an actual election. And, were it Ted Cruz in his stead, right? I think Ted Cruz would be TFOing every which way logically.
Right? But I mean, this is the dialectic versus the
rhetorically.
Rhetoric. Yeah.
I know.
I mean, but I don't think Trump would destroy him. I don't think he would. Yeah, I don't think.
Really?
I don't think so.
Huh.
I think Buttigieg would win.
Huh. Damn, bite your tongue, man. Bite your tongue, because I mean, this president is all we got, man. So if we end up with President Buttigieg,
I don't see how.
Right. First of all,
can you imagine? Trump can beat anybody at this point?
I don't know, man. We've got to rule out 6D chess, 8D, 10D chess at this point. We have to rule it out, right? Yeah. Too many unforced errors. Yeah. I don't know, man. Incumbency wields a power unto itself, inexplicably, right? There is a credible argument to make the fact that George W. Bush did not win the second election because of Ross Perot, and this is a credible argument. I don't know this. Sorry, HW. Sorry, my bad. I get them confused, man. 43 is what I mean. 43, right? Like Ross Perot interfered.
No, 41.
41. My bad. Yeah, no, you fact shame me in real time. It's good. We're good. There is a credible argument about the fact that Ross Perot interrupted his incumbency, and it's very credible, right? And do we see a wild card like that on the horizon? Yes, we do. It's in the form of Howard Schultz, who is sort of center left, right? And that is going to bleed left votes, right? Will he actually run? We don't know. Can he get on the ballot? We don't know, right? But again, my point is this: incumbency wields power unto itself, right? And there are plenty of things that Trump can say that he has done well. Factually, plenty of things. Yes, economy is the big one, but there are so many others, man. And it does occur to me as we're talking about this, and I hadn't really thought about it yet. It's really interesting because this 1 year that he gave Mexico to stop immigration, illegal immigration into this country and stop drugs and all that. Okay. Well, that 1 year goes to April of 2020. That's really interesting, right? If he ends up shutting the border down or doing something drastic in April of 2020, that is real campaign season right there. This is not. This is all puffery right now, right?
Yeah.
Does occur to me that maybe did he punt 6D chess style? I doubt it. But like you're right about what I take you factually correctly about is that Trump's got to deliver the business right now, man. Like last week was a week of winning rhetorically, right? We need some winning in actual facts right now. Yeah. And you're right.
All right.
Yeah, man. On Thursday last week, after you made that decision, I was like, primary. Somebody primary this boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I've calmed down, man. I've calmed down. I love our president. I love him, right? The business is not getting done. Our business is not getting done, is what's up. Yeah.
All right, dude. Does that do it for this episode?
Well, let's call it the end. We do have the DCCC Justice League spat on the table. Let's take it up next week because this is going to develop even more. So, let's just handle it next week, man. Let's get up out of here. It was a great show, man. So let's ride.
Yeah, for sure. Dear listener, all you need to know about the DCCC split, which is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Is that what it is, Russ?
Something like that. Something like that.
They're basically the people who are the handlers of the Democratic Party, and they are
the blob. The blob.
Yeah.
They're the blob.
And they're not happy that the Justice League Democrats are now primarying their candidates. So the DCCC are putting measures into place to prevent the Justice League Democrats from primarying their candidates. It is the official split. This is what we were going to talk about. Is that this is the official split? Is that the DCCC doing this versus the Justice League Democrats protesting against it in effect? And we'll hit it next week. The thing is like it's important, it's interesting, but it's not anything that's necessarily timely. So we'll hit it next week. Don't worry about it.
Great show, brother. Let's do it.
All right. Peace, man.
Like.